horror fan, best friends, and ghoulish knights, and welcome to the 21st episode of Murders with Mertens. I am your host, Joe, and this is a podcast about horror, slashers, dark comedies, body horror, the horror adjacent, the supernatural, the psychologically terrifying, scary films in general. Each episode, I sit down with a guest and discuss one of their favorite scary films so that we can gush about everything that makes it just so damned cool. Viewers, thank you for the support. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you are so inclined. It all helps to get the word out and bring some much needed love to this fledgling podcast. Still have that minor goal of reaching 100 subs so that I can get a custom URL finally. So, if you feel like it would be worth it to help me out with that, it's cool, I guess. Whatever, but a little bit of help is always appreciated. Today, I have the honor of welcoming Frank Villagomez to talk about the spoops. Frank, how the hell are you?
Good. I'm doing great. I've been looking forward to this podcast since you messaged me on Twitter about this. When I saw the call, I was like, yes, finally is my time. It is my time. I've seen a few episodes of the podcast, the one with Mario and everything like that, and I was just like, this is something I definitely want to be on. But you know how like you're just like, I'm afraid to ask. I'm afraid to ask to be on. But I'm so glad you asked.
Never be afraid. Well, I have the opposite problem of I'm horrible about shooting my shot and asking people. So, but got some cool people on deck, some people we're working on scheduling, gonna make this shit happen. That's for sure. Frank, for those who don't know, who the hell are you?
Hi, my name is Frank Villagomez. I run a podcast with 5 friends every week called Point in Progress. You may have heard of some of the people: Fiona McKinnon, Harv Pramar, Sly Clone MC, Mario Rivera, and me. We all kind of we just talk about video games. We talk about the news. We talk about our lives and stuff like that. A little bit about me. I'm a big horror fan. I love horror video games. I love horror movies. I love horror comics, anime, all that kind of stuff. It's one of my favorite mediums. Funny enough, wasn't when I was a little kid. When I was a little kid, I was scared shitless over this stuff. You couldn't get me to watch half of these things, which is why we're talking about Child's Play today. Because
nice.
That was kind of the catalyst to get me into this stuff. But yeah, it was one of the mediums where, like, as a kid, I was just like, yeah, this isn't for me. I could barely even get through a Resident Evil. I remember very vividly my dad having a copy of Resident Evil on the PlayStation 1. If you remember that cover too, it was like a zombie. Mm-hmm. I used to like hide it under the bed. I was like, I don't even want to look at it.
For those of us that grew up in the 80s and 90s, there was one specific page of the original volume of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark that did the exact same thing.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's the one of the woman's face that's basically just rotting apart. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good times. Similar spook levels there for sure. I had a similar childhood where growing up in the 80s and as a kid in the early 90s, I feel like they ran ads on primetime television for horror films like crazy that just are not the kind of thing that you should be showing young children. And they did it anyways. And that was kind of scarring. Some of those trailers are far more terrifying when you're a child than the actual film ends up being when you're an adult. But similar type of thing. I don't remember when I first saw this film, and this has been such a nice refresher. I don't even think, have we even introduced the film yet? I think we're jumping the gun.
Yeah, no.
Today's topic is 1988's Child's Play, directed by Tom Holland, the other one, and written by Don Mancini, John Lafia, and Holland himself. So again, coming to this film much later in life, and us talking about, us being impressionable kids watching horror films. Frank, let's hear more about your history with the film.
Yeah. So I very much remember this was a film where the only reason I probably saw it is because people around the schoolyard would quote it, right? Like you would get people like, "Hi, I'm Chucky, want to play?" And you would hear about this killer doll and stuff like that. Me being, still pretty young at that point, I was just like, I don't want to see no killer doll. I'm still scared of Toy Soldiers, that one movie where they had animatronics and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. That scared the shit out of me. So I was like, killer doll, no, I'm good. I very much remember my sister being the one who's just like, look, don't be a pussy, all right? Just watch this movie with me. It'll be fine. You'll live. And I'm like, okay, fine. I saw it, and it was one of those things where it's just like, oh, well, this isn't as bad as I thought it could be. But it's still scary as a kid because you're like, oh crap! Look at the movements of the face, look at all that stuff, and you look at your own toys, your own GI Joes and stuff like that, and you're like, are you gonna come to life? Is this something that's gonna happen right now? Like, are you gonna go on a killing spree? But yeah, it is one of those movies where it just kind of pushed me forward a little bit. It's not the scariest movie I saw as a kid, but it was definitely that moment of like, hey, you can definitely watch a little bit more after this, and then keep kind of moving forward and stuff like that. And hearing on the schoolyard, everybody knew who Chucky was at my age. Like, I'm 26 now. When I was like 9 or 8, all the kids were like constantly talking about Chucky. They dressed as Chucky during Halloween. He's an icon, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I wanted to see what that icon was, and that pushed me forward to watching other movies like Friday the 13th and Halloween and all those other films.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that horror comedy and dark comedies and stuff like that's a wonderful bit of gateway horror for people, because people that they just say, I don't like horror movies, they're scary, that's not my thing. Yeah, it really is. You just haven't given it a fair shake. There's probably a thriller or two that are very if not horror, very horror adjacent. And, at the very least, you probably enjoy something like Shaun of the Dead or Beetlejuice or something fun like that.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
even,
like
yeah.
one of my friends who isn't too into horror, she just doesn't like gore and all that.
Okay.
Funny enough, because if you've ever seen this movie, it's just gore. There's a ton of gore in it. But like The Babysitter, right? Like I was like, okay, we watch The Babysitter because it is a comedy movie with some horror elements in it. And there's horror movies out there that it doesn't necessarily have to be about the gore. It doesn't necessarily have to be about like the jump scares or that. The way I look at it is like, as long as it has really good atmosphere and it has that like kind of eerie feeling to it, it's horror to me. And this movie has a ton of that, and I love it.
Yeah. It doesn't even get into full blown Chucky until about like halfway through the film, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's almost more unsettling just seeing the face of Chucky just as the good guy doll, which if you don't remember from the time period that this came from, is a total ripoff of the My Buddy doll. Yeah, which is apparently, apparently a doll that is designed for lonely kids. And yep. But
which is funny because like going back on it and like kind of doing some research on it, like on the original script and everything like that, because this is like one of those movies that is like rewritten like a bajillion times apparently. How it was called, like they used Buddy in the original title, and then seeing that come to full circle like later on in this movie's like saga, being called Buddy again was like, oh, okay, now I kind of get it.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. A lot of suspense building to those moments where finally we see Chucky being Chucky. Yeah. What do you say we jump into it here?
Hell yeah.
All right. We begin with the always great MGM intro, but I gotta say, I kind of miss this old school United Artists intro. The one that they used to play in front of like 1980s Bond films. Yeah, that brings back some fun memories. So we start with cops closing in on the Strangler, Charles Lee Ray. And it's this great 1980s foot chase with gunplay, all that shit firing on all cylinders. He's hiding behind the supports of the L and, avoiding the cop cars and all that. And I guess he has an accomplice that kind of like bugs out on him at this point.
Yeah, in the van or something like that, just chilling in there.
Also, there's a giant ass neon sign for Cantonese food, and now I want Cantonese food.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
Oh, doesn't it? Oh God, but yeah, it's a cool ass sign, and everything's bathed in neon in this thing. And Brad Dourif, fresh off his role in Dune, but not quite at Alien Resurrection yet. Yeah, he is Charles Lee Ray, the Strangler.
The
Yes, yeah.
Strangler. Yeah, I love this scene, by the way. Like, this is a way to start your movie, just with a foot gun chase. And there's always, so I'm from Chicago. I forgot to say that earlier, but yeah, I'm from Chicago. I've lived here all my life. So there's something about Chicago at night that gives me always Gotham vibes. And the intro to this movie does have Gotham vibes. If you told me this is the intro to like Batman, I would have believed you 100%.
Especially like Batman 89.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course the Nolan films were mostly filmed around Chicago, which also works super well. But yeah, Chicago's got great atmosphere for this kind of stuff, for sure. So yeah, again, I think this is where the van drives by and it's like, the Strangler had help. You're a killer known as the Strangler and you had an accomplice.
I'm still laughing over the Strangler thing. Like, I can't believe this man's named the Strangler.
It is the most generic, most generic name ever for a serial killer. But yeah, I guess it's Chris Sarandon in pursuit here. Mr. Jack Skellington himself, as Detective Mike, whose name I will forget through most of my notes until it's finally said later in the film, and I'll just keep calling him like Detective Skellington, I guess.
It's perfect. It's fine. Yeah, people know.
Yeah. So he's wounded, the Strangler. He decides to hide in a toy store. I gotta say, Strangler had a pretty nice coat. That was a very nice coat. That would be a super expensive coat too. But
that trench coat, like, I don't know where people in Chicago get these trench coats, and I need to know, because I see them every now and again around town, and I'm just like, dude, like, put me on, man. I need one of those nice beige like little trench coats that fit perfectly. Ooh.
Yeah, that's absolutely my jam. And yeah, they're fucking expensive. But it's at this point where he realizes that he's dying. He decides to transfer his spirit into the first thing that he can find, which is a good guy doll. This just seems to kind of come out of left field. We thought he was a serial killer. No, he's a practitioner of apparently voodoo, which I guess we don't find out till later in the film. That's what this is. But yeah, we get lightning and thunder and storm clouds and everything else, and explosions ensue. And Detective Skellington there gets blown out of the toy store as well.
Absolutely blasted away, like ejected.
Yeah. This again, all great 1980s action film shit right here. It's perfect. I'm digging it. And then we move from here to one of the things that I find even more unsettling than most of this film. This little kid making a fucking mess in the kitchen as he's trying to make his mom breakfast in bed. It's just like, no. Oh god, she's got to clean that. Oh no, she's got to mop up this. Oh, he's burning the toast.
Toast is the toaster just smoking out there. Oh, yeah. By the way, I love the glob of butter he puts on that burnt toast. He just takes like a giant spoonful. Just
Yep, absolutely. Doesn't make any coffee for her though, which is kind of unfortunate because apparently he is waking her up at 6:30 in the morning because it's his birthday. Also love the giant trail of milk that he's leaving from the kitchen to her bedroom. Awesome job, kid. But yeah, he wakes up mom, and before he does that though, as he's walking by the living room, you got the happy birthday banner and all that. Oh, and he's giving some massive side eye to that pile of presents. He just wants to wake up mom because he wants to, dig into the pile. That's exactly what this is. He may be a nice kid, but yeah.
No, you know what he really wants.
Oh god. Yeah. No. Yeah, again, like we talked about, the trope of the kid not quite responsible enough to make mom breakfast, but does it anyway in an endearingly messy way. Yes, that bothers the shit out of me.
He's kind of a little bit of a creepy kid too. He's cosplaying a lot as the buddy doll. All he watches is buddy stuff. He's a little obsessive over that.
Massive creepy kid vibes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Apparently he's 6.
Also kind of adorable though sometimes. He's a little bit adorable sometimes.
At times. And God, just he can do terrified child quite well in later parts of this film, so I guess that works too. Yeah, 6:30 in the morning. I love you / burn in hell. Yeah. Mom's just gonna have to switch into mom mode. Yes. He finally can open some presents. And you get the big box, and he's been staring at it, and he's pretty sure he's gonna get what he thinks he's gonna get. His one obsession here. No, it's every kid's favorite birthday present: clothes. Yeah,
a long pair of jeans. I'm just like,
yeah. Oh, now we're gonna have to go get these altered. So get ready for that fun experience. Yeah.
Yay. Oh man. Yeah. His face, he does do a really good job of a look of disappointment, because he's just like, yeah.
Yep. He does get some good guy accessories for some reason, probably because that's all mom could afford at the moment. I don't think it's really brought up until she's actually at work, but she basically works the jewelry counter at a department store. They got a nice ass apartment.
Yeah, really nice apartment.
What she's pulling in there, dad's not in the picture. I think he's deceased. Maybe there was a really nice life insurance claim with him. I don't know, but they seem to be doing okay for what she's up to.
That department store is really cool, by the way, because it's still around. It used to be a Carson's at some point. I think I've been there at some point. I don't know if I've been there. I know I've been to Carson's downtown, and I want to say it was that one. But now it's a Target. So the exterior looks exactly the same, but it is Target.
Okay. That's at least they didn't ruin the facade of a cool old building. I appreciate that. As he's tearing through his gifts, he does the little kid thing of throwing the card away because, who wants to read boring platitudes, right? Also, mom, she couldn't afford what you really wanted. Mom sucks.
Damn it, mom.
And so then mom proceeds to do a back alley transaction for the one she loves. This peddler who's brought up over and over. And, I can't remember the last time I heard about somebody who's selling shit on the black market as a peddler, but whatever. But she
happens a lot here in Chicago.
Yeah, okay.
That's how I got my first bike.
Fair enough. Okay. But she manages to get the gift, and of course, it's the doll from the toy store. But we'll get there eventually. And I'm trying to think what this even means that I typed. I don't know. It's the comment from her friend about, or either her to her friend about, was it stolen? And I think it's the peddler that says like, steal this, or something like that.
Right. He turns around, does like the thrusts forward and goes, steal this, and then just walks away.
Yup. Perfect. Wait, awesome. We don't have to tell the kid about how you got the doll. But steal this. Mom finds out that she has to pull a double shift, and her work wife, she gets to manage the kid. And I hate to say it, but retail in 2022, we'd all just be like, call off. Well, I guess there's just nobody in jewelry tonight.
That's literally how it is.
Yeah, nobody's being forced to work a double shift at this point. No, not happening.
I don't think I've in like the 8 years I've worked retail, nobody has ever said, "Hey, you have to work a double shift," or like, it's like, okay, well, I could just say no.
Yeah,
and just not do it.
Yeah, and especially through the pandemic and everything. We're at this point where it's just, okay, super numb about the situation. There's just not going to be anybody there. Sorry. But kid gets what he always wanted. Mom's friend, she's carrying this thing around the apartment and basically just beating the shit out of it. Slamming it into tables and walls and everything else. Chucky's probably not very happy about this, and well, I suppose we'll find out what happens later. So it's time for Andy to go to bed there, and well, he starts. This is where he really starts telling people what Chucky says. And we didn't bring this up, but this is one of those dolls that talks. The eyes move and the head turns and stuff, and is supposed to only have a few phrases. But apparently Chucky wants to watch the 9 o'clock news. Okay, and it's something to do with his old accomplice, still on the lam or whatever. But his accomplice got away. That's what it was. Eddie Caputo. He managed to elude his.
There you go.
Yeah, he managed to elude his captors, and Maggie. Yeah, she's just not impressed. She's like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. So
she's like, it's time to go to bed, kid.
Yeah,
we're done with this.
Enough of this. Yes. Yeah, the whole relationship with Chucky, this is not off to a good start. Also, again, yeah, awesome apartment for somebody who works a jewelry counter. And we get a little POV now of something very low to the ground, possibly a 6-year-old, I don't know, running around. And these shots, they never fail to impress. They're fun. It's in some ways they're kind of an evolution from Evil Dead, but with the pitter patter of little feet. Extra creepy. Yeah. And well, Maggie is suitably freaked out. She I don't know if it's now or after she gets off the phone here, where she finds like a bunch of flour or sugar or something strewn all over the kitchen. And we get this, Andy, is that you? And, the phone rings and, okay, mom checks in and all that. Things are okay. Yeah, our boss sucks. Yeah, I'll be home in a few hours, that thing. And she hangs up and hammer in the face. And of course, it's the little tiny good guys, building set hammer. And she stumbles backwards and ends up crashing through the window and down the street.
Yeah. By the way, that scene is so well done in the sense of just building up to it. Because earlier you see Andy hitting a thing with that same hammer, right?
Oh no, his fingerprints are all over it. Shit.
Oh no. Right? Like he's using it earlier, which you'd be kind of, not, I wouldn't say you're wrong by this point in the film. You're like, could have been Andy? Like, it could have been Andy, maybe like, Chucky telling Andy to do this instead of Chucky just doing it. Cause he's, like, I am Chucky when I play. He doesn't really like show his face yet. So you're like,
there's a lot in the first half of this film. Absolutely. Where you could absolutely view it as, yeah, this very well could be the kid. But yeah, we know better. So yeah, right through the window, right to this. Well, she lands on a truck in the middle of the street, and she's dead.
She's dead. Yeah, flattens it.
So mom gets home. She sees the police present. She's like, holy fucking, she just skirts this police line and gets right into the building. Nobody's saying a thing. She goes by several cops that kind of sidestep out of her way. Sure. Again, through the hallway. In
Chicago.
Oh, I guess. She gets through the hallway with only one cop telling her, ma'am, you can't go in there. There's like 37 cops in this apartment, in a 2-bedroom apartment.
One of them is just like on the couch with his feet up, just reading the newspaper.
Yes. I noticed that too.
Did you just walk into my house?
Yes, I absolutely noticed that. He's just chilling. It's cool. It's
hanging out.
He's number 37. There had to be 37 cops in here. And she finally finds Andy, and he tells her that Maggie had an accident. And the detectives, are explaining everything to her. And then we get to the point with the flower on the island, and there's what are those? Are those footprints? And they ask Andy to check out his shoes. Mom is not happy about that.
Dare you insinuate my son might be a murder?
Oh yes, yes. And then the footprints. I guess Chucky wants to know about what's going on. Yeah. Again, creepy kid. Also, Andy, snitches get stitches. He tries to tell the detectives that his doll had been on the counter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Andy, we don't talk to cops for one. We don't talk to.
Yeah, bad Andy, bad.
Bad, terrible.
Yeah, they bag the hammer, the possible murder weapon, and as mom's getting ready for bed, after she finally gets all 37 cops out of her apartment, she can hear Andy's voice. She hears him talking to somebody. So she just kind of bursts into his room and finds him just sitting on the floor talking to Chucky. Chucky is like up in a chair looking down at him. No, that's not creepy at all.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I do appreciate her that, the mom, her name is Karen, but I keep calling her the mom because it's so much easier. I appreciate that she's curious enough to ask her kid what Chucky says to him. Also, I'm sure she's very concerned that her son is talking to this thing so much. But
I could imagine as like a parent, your kid just like talking to this doll like it's a person must be probably the scariest thing in the world.
Yeah, and this movie feels like it's happening over, quite a long time, but it's only a couple of days really. Because this is still the same day that the kid got the doll. It's his birthday.
Damn, death on your birthday. He takes it like a champ though. I mean, he doesn't really get fazed by somebody dying on his birthday.
Also, they got a window out and it's winter in Chicago. I hope they got some Visqueen or something up really quick. Because it's gonna be cold
plastic or something.
Shit, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it's gonna get rough that day.
Yeah. So I appreciate that she's asking, but I know she's doing it more out of concern. And she asks, well, what does Chucky tell him? And I don't think she's ever expecting his real name is Charles Lee Ray, and he's been sent down from heaven by Daddy to play with me. Sure.
No. That was the moment where I was like, okay, I'm guessing his dad's dead because sent down from heaven, but like, wow, that's a straight punch to the gut right there. Just like, oh no, this is pretty evil.
Yep. And then Andy says some bad words. There's something about, I think, Maggie being a bitch who deserved it or something like that.
Exactly. That was exactly it. Yeah.
Oof. Yeah. That's, I think, part of the charm of this film. Exactly what comes out of this doll's mouth eventually. It's good times.
Yeah, but, she's just confused. She's just like, why would you say that?
Oh yeah, she's
like, where are you getting
first
this?
Very shocked, and then very, very, just like, wow. Just
she's like, this isn't real, man. Like, feel this doll. It's plastic. Like, what are you doing?
Yep. So mom freaks out on the poor kid, and then of course he lies to her to make her feel better. Basically saying, no, he doesn't talk to me. I don't hear him saying anything to me. Oh yeah, this little manipulative shit. We'll see what it gets you.
He's learning from Chucky very quickly.
Oh yes, he is. So she, tucks him in, and then we get Chucky's head turned and looking at her shadow under the door. Yeah, that's some spoopy stuff right there for sure. And then we cut to the next day. It's time for school. And I see this and I'm like, is he taking the doll to school for like show and tell or something? I mean, I know he's 6. I know he's probably been through the trauma of his dad's death and all this stuff, but you're bringing a doll as big as you are to school with you.
Yeah, that's his best friend.
I guess. Friends to the end.
We had a few. I mean, back in the day, I guess we had a few kids who used to like bring toys to school, but it was always kind of weird because they would instantly be like, "Yeah, no, put that away. Like, no toys."
Yeah, that's why I was thinking, yeah, maybe he tells mom that, hey, let's bring Chucky for show and tell. Whatever. Um, my first thought, I think, when seeing this for the first time was, is he taking Chucky to school for show and tell, or just so we can get some dead kids?
Oh,
But
that
yeah,
in an alternate universe, we got that scene. We got some
yeah,
scenes like that.
yeah, a little bit more serious Chucky film, maybe. Yeah.
Mm.
Nope. But the ball's on this kid. He's faking out mom, and he's cutting school as a 6-year-old. Yeah, yeah. Seriously, nobody questions this very small child alone on the L. Is it because he's
Yeah.
got the doll with him? I don't know.
I don't know, man.
There's 2 of them. It must be okay.
It's the size of him. He should be fine.
Yeah.
I don't understand this either, because I'm just like, on the L, everybody, like, there's so many people on that train. Somebody is eventually gonna like white knight and be like, yo, whose kid is this? But yeah, it going on the L as a kid, that must have been something. As a 6-year-old, yeah, going down to the south side, that is nuts to see.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. Yeah. So they walk through some, areas with burned barrels and some homeless folks, and eventually make it to this house. Well, Andy's got to pee. And so he sets Chucky down on a bench or something, goes to take a whiz, and we get this awesome POV shot of Chucky crossing the street.
Again, straight sprinting too. It's
extra
so cool.
Evil Dead. Yes. I really enjoyed that. And just because we're really not sure at this point, I guess in a first viewing, what is happening here, why they're at this house. This is where his old partner is squatting. It's his hideout. Chucky blows out the pilot light for the oven and turns up the gas. We can see where this is going. And the guy, does he wake up, or does Chucky call?
I think he like laughs. I think he like laughs or something like that. And he like wakes up. He's like, Charles?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the great Chucky laugh, and so he's able to recognize it. And yeah, he starts checking the house out with his gun drawn, and he bursts into a room and fires a couple of shots, and the kid hears the gunfire and runs toward the house. So we already know he's a very special little kid, because that's not most folks there.
Run towards the shots, Andy. It's fine.
Yeah. And we hear Chucky, pitter-pattering around and laughing, and it's all a ploy to get this dude to burst into the kitchen, where he fires a couple of rounds and the whole house blows up. The pretty cool explosion.
Oh yeah, that building gets leveled. It's cool. Probably one of the most inventive like kills that I've seen in a horror movie in like a while too, because you never necessarily see somebody just get their house just straight blown up as a kill.
Yeah, that dude is absolutely toast. I'm sort of upset, but also glad that we didn't get the other shot of basically Andy getting thrown back from the explosion. That you have to figure that he was fairly close to the building when it happened. Oh
yeah, he definitely got shockwaved back a little bit. He got pushed.
Yeah, and there has to be a reason why he was able to get picked up by the cops there. So maybe he got knocked out. I don't know. This could be a deleted scene. Who knows? But building go boom. So we cut to the precinct where way to question a kid without a parent or an attorney present. Not sketchy at all, but it's how you do in 88, right?
Hell yeah.
Probably today.
Things are different in the 80s.
Yeah. Probably a lot of that happening still today. But
100%.
But yeah, it's becomes very, very apparent after mom shows up and or no, wait a minute. I think I totally missed something here because they had called mom down to the station and okay, Detective Skellington is all, hey, you haven't stopped to pick up your kid yet, yeah? Okay, well, surprise! Here he is.
Surprise.
Yeah.
He's being arrested.
Yeah, they're just about throwing cuffs on this kid. And all the crazy shit this kid is spewing about Chucky doing this, Chucky doing that. Chucky is totally gonna let Andy take the fall for blowing up his accomplice. And enter the child psychologist. Yep, we're gonna send your kid away for a few days for observation.
Yeah. I don't know why he has a microphone either. He just has he's just talking into a mic the whole time, and I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. Is he maybe taking notes? I don't know. It could be a little, micro cassette recorder or something like that. But yeah, mom goes home with Chucky at this point, and she's not looking nearly as freaked out and despondent as one should when their son is accused of murder and basically locked up for observation for a few days. I feel like she should have these very hollow, dark eyes and
some bags under there.
Nonstop tears, and But
shout out to her for not throwing away that doll at this point. Like, if I was a parent, I wouldn't even take it home with me. I'd just toss it in the trash. Like, we're getting rid of this all together at this point.
Yeah, I think I like your method better. Of course, Chucky would still come back at that point, but yeah. She gives the doll this, say something, you little bastard moment. And there's this little pause. She can barely say it. Yeah. And, she says a few more things to him, shakes him around a little bit, and then puts him back down on the couch. And she walks through the kitchen, and being that this is still the next day, they still have yet to throw out the box that he came in. And she picks it up. She looks at it. She reads a tagline or something off of it. And then there's a little thunk as something falls out of the box. And the camera zooms in, and it's clearly a pair of batteries. And then the camera moves to the box, and it says, batteries included. Oh, no.
The cat's out of the bag.
Yep. He's been operating without his batteries. She gingerly picks up the doll at this point to check the battery compartment. And she fumbles around, finds it, opens it up. Yep, no batteries. And right away, Chucky's head does a 180, and we get, hi, I'm Chucky. Want to play? Yep. She
scared the shit out of me as a kid when that happened too. I was
I bet.
Exorcist shit right here.
Yeah. Well, she drops this doll right away, like you do, hits the ground, and just rolls right under the couch. Now, I'm just saying, Frank, if there were a possibly murderous doll under your couch, in your home, possibly under your bed behind you, if you're getting on your knees and right down there on the floor to search under said couch, how close would you get your face while investigating?
Oh, I'd be in another state.
Yeah.
I'd be running out the door. As soon as that exorcist part happened, I'd be like, nope, not me.
Yep. She flips up the little dust ruffle on the bottom of the couch there and looks underneath, and her face is right there. But they show some amazing restraint in this film because they just let Chucky just lie there. It doesn't move, nothing. She kind of pokes and prods a little bit at him, and eventually pulls him out again. She's like, nah, things are fine. Things are fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Chucky's just gonna keep gaslighting her. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yes. That's exactly what this is. All right. And this is where she, again starts poking and prodding at him again, and asking him to speak. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna make you talk. And she lights up the gas log in the fireplace and threatens to throw him in. And here we are, about halfway through this movie, where the real Chucky comes out to play. This is so good.
Yep.
Yep, you get a total change in the facial expression. Now just so much more expressive. Yeah, I like it.
Really, also amazing job. Watching this movie back years later now, and then seeing that scene, they did insane work on. I don't know if it's an animatronic. I don't know if it's CGI. I honestly cannot tell. Because I know there's some scenes where like there is a person in a costume.
Yeah.
But like when
this
it's the straight
definitely
doll,
animatronic, because we didn't have CG anything like this. CG back then would be a little bit of graphics on a monitor that you see. But yeah, it looks great. It's the guy that created the doll and did all this stuff is one of the producers of the film. I forget the dude's name, but yeah, he's giving like Stan Winston a run for his money right here.
Yeah.
So they tussle, and Chucky ends up biting her in the arm, and he flees the apartment. And wow, she's slow going after this, like, I don't know, 30-inch doll.
30-inch doll with like small legs.
Yeah, exactly. But he manages to make it to the elevator, and the camera just follows her going round and round these stairs, nearly wiping out several times, always missing the elevator. And she makes it to the street, but he's got away. Yeah, I guess mom hops in a taxi, and she takes off to go sound like a crazy person to Jack Skellington. Who of course does not believe her. Why would he? At this point. And yeah, she's like, well, fine, I'm gonna run off and find this peddler who sold me the doll. But at least he shows some concern. Again, there's some people trying to do good and do good things in this film, and not in a ham-fisted way, not in a doing it because they have to kind of way, in a clearly okay, we're gonna do the right thing kind of way. He's concerned about her going to where she's going to go to try to find this dude.
Yeah, he kind of likes the mom. I remember earlier in the film, he's just like, hey, you're going to call me? Just like in a very weird way. And she just kicks him out. His partner is just like, missed again, huh?
That partner is such a dumbass. So yeah, she's heading to the bad part of town. And we get a montage of homeless folks unable to help her. All of them shaking their heads, but showing some real concern in their eyes. And you know what? I'm kind of proud of this film in that it shows, most of them actually trying to help out, and they're not trying to make them scary or anything like that. It's again, shows some real restraint, and you definitely know this film could have gone another direction with kind of vilifying them. Again, most of them are helpful. We get a few nasty people when she's just about to find the peddler, but she finds him, and he's a dick. He continues to be a dick, and
terrible person.
Kind of tries to force himself on her a little bit when she doesn't have much money to offer him to go in where he got the doll. But lo and behold, Detective Skellington shows up, and he kind of saves the day a little bit, because he's got a gun and everybody's like, it's a cop.
Best thing you can have in Chicago. It's one thing you should have. You gotta get your wallet, you get your gun, you bring your phone.
Sounds like a solid plan. Detective shows up in the nick of time. And when he hears from this dude that the doll came from that burned out department store, he's noticeably shook, because he's there.
Yeah, he gets this like weird look of just like, oh shit, maybe there is something to this. But he's kind of an ass about it. like
Yeah.
just a little bit.
Yeah, he's doing his best to keep things in the sane and rational throughout most of this film. Even though there was this freak storm that blew apart the toy store as he was chasing the serial killer, um, he's still, that's more coincidence to him. Yeah. So they get the location and he drives mom home. She's now convinced that the doll is Charles Lee Ray. Skellington less so. He's still looking for the rational here. She wants to check out Charles Lee Ray's old place, his hideout or apartment or whatever, but he's not having it. He just gets out of the car and drags her out of the car.
That was my favorite scene ever because he's just like, get out of my car. This is not real. I live in the sane world. Just leave. And then he doesn't get out of the car. So he just gets up, opens the door, she's like, out, like GTAs her out of the car. And then she just goes back around to the other side. She rolls up the window. Like she rolls up the window thinking it's gonna stop him. And he just opens the door. Oh man, so
out of
good.
my car, you fucking crazy person. But he does eventually get her out, and she's smacking on his car, and he's like, "Yeah, it must be a Tuesday." And let's see here. He stops back at the precinct, and he wants to get Charles Lee Ray's file, and he leaves, hops back in the car. And of course, Chucky's in the backseat and he strangles him with jumper cables. Because we could all tell that this is where this film was going to go with Chucky in the car. Because of course he killed the accomplice. He wants to kill the guy who, killed him. So yeah, tries strangling him with the jumper cables. They're crazy driving. Luckily, just before Chucky popped up from the back seat, Mike here, he popped in your old school cigarette lighter that nobody actually has anymore. And yes, very much a product of the late 80s, this film. But as he's struggling, trying to grab for anything, and the car is going out of control, he does manage to get the cigarette lighter and burn the shit out of Chucky's face.
Right in his forehead, too. Right here.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it melts the plastic, but Chucky is actually in pain. I don't think he expected he could be, but yeah, it manages to get him off him for a minute. And apparently, Chucky had grabbed a chef's knife somewhere at some point during all of this because he starts stabbing through the car seat at Chris Sarandon's back here. So more crazy wild driving, and then Chucky's under the seat stabbing up. You get the crotch stab shot because of course you got to have that in a movie of this era. Luckily this guy like barely gets nicked.
Yeah, I don't think he actually gets hurt at all. I think he gets like a cut or two, but that's really kind of about it.
Yeah, it's pretty minimal. He's more like bouncing, ping ponging off of other cars and stuff at this point. Yeah, Chucky gets down into the floor of the car there, and he just holds down the accelerator, and for whatever reason he can't get this 5-pound piece of plastic off, but whatever.
I was gonna ask that too. Like, do you think Chucky has normal like human strength? Like he has to in some way. He
appears to at times, yet he's super light. He's the mithril of killer dolls. But it's at this point that the car basically gets flipped and they upside down. The detective is, kind of struggling because he was just in a car that got flipped. Meanwhile, Chucky tries to stab him in the head, misses, and then just runs around the car taunting him. Basically telling Detective Mike here that, sure, shoot me. You're not going to do anything. Those bullets can't hurt me. And So chasing him around, letting him spend his ammo, and he sneaks back in, grabs the knife, and just when he thinks he may have run away, Chucky comes flying back into the car with the knife, but he gets off one shot, and this doll gets blown the fuck back so beautifully.
Absolutely launched. It's great.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I enjoyed the hell out of that. Also, the fact that there's a little bit of slow mo in it too, that works for me.
This movie is just just a well disguised action movie too.
Yeah.
It's horror, but like there's so many times where like people are getting shot at, shooting at each other, and now this is just like wow. You know, and then nobody's gonna believe this guy anyway either. Like just some like doll attacking you in the middle of the street.
Like, I want to know what the conversation was when people finally show up at the scene of the accident before he's able to get another vehicle, because that happens relatively quickly. So yeah, Chucky is flown back, and Mike breathes a sigh of relief. And we cut to Mom finally finding Charles Lee Ray's old stomping grounds. She's like paying the landlord some money to, let her in or whatever. And she starts exploring the place and finds a super creepy mural depicting some type of a voodoo ceremony with, Chucky prominently featured in all of this. She sees some writing on the wall. Oh, thank you, mighty Damballa, for life after death.
Yep. That's a creepy one. That's a creepy one to see on any wall, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I always wondered if they ever explored that too, the Damballa stuff and everything like that. I think that's I think it's mostly mentioned like in the chant, but like did they ever? I don't think they ever talked about that.
I don't recall. Not at all. Creepy writing that she sees not once but twice. And it just makes me think of, Sweets to the Sweet. Another great Chicago film there. But it's at this point where she's looking around and we see a silhouette approaching from behind her, and she's startled, but no, it's just Detective Mike, and he's okay. He survived his ordeal. And he lets her know about his findings. I'm surprised that he had to research Ray's file here to remember everything about this killer that he had been hunting.
But like a week ago before this.
Yeah, exactly.
You think if this guy was your obsession, you would just know where this guy lives like 24/7.
Right. And while he doesn't come right out and talk about what happened to him, he shows her a picture of this voodoo priest and tells her they have to find him before Chucky does. So he doesn't even come right out and say that he believes her or anything. It's like, no, we just got to find this priest and get to him before the doll does. But of course, Chucky gets there first. He visits said priest, and he's pretty upset that he can get hurt and that he bleeds.
Yeah. Also, really, I think this is like the first time we see Chucky just by himself and not like running around or those POV shots. He's just kind of like, hey, this is me now. Here I am. He's just like on this counter, just fully animated, looking amazing. Mm-hmm. I honestly really love that shot. It's the creepiest thing in the world because it's so uncanny valley, but at the same time so natural.
Well, and that's the wonderful thing about this character, because it's supposed to be a doll. So you can have this animatronic thing and there you go.
There you go. It's already a doll.
It's as real as it needs to look. It's, trying to improve it with CG years later or anything like that. That's what would probably make it feel worse. Yeah. So yeah, shout out to all the effects in this film because it's fucking great. So yeah, he's pretty upset. And John, the priest, explains that, the longer that Ray stays in the doll, the more human he becomes. And it clicks for Ray. Oh shit, I'm going to be trapped in this doll as this living doll until forever. I die. Mm. Oh fuck. So he's like, hey, you got to tell me how to fix this. You're the one that got me into this mess and you're going to get me out. John's like, fuck that noise. I'm going to go get some gear and get you gone. And this is where Chucky pulls out his voodoo doll.
Oh, another really, by the way, really inventive kill. Like the kills in this movie are so unique because it's like you would think just doll stab, right? But no, they constantly just throw a new like wrench into the cog, and it's like, what we're using voodoo dolls now?
Yeah, it's there's something, like supernatural or magical that's happened that has created the whole premise of this film, but you didn't really realize that it was voodoo until, they're scoping out Ray's apartment and everything, and then you get this scene here at the priest's apartment. So okay, it's voodoo. Cool.
Voodoo magic.
Yep. And he gets his leg broken in spectacular fashion. And gets a little stabbed. But that's all after he finally tells Chucky, okay, you want to get out of the doll. You got to put yourself into the person that you first opened up to after you were in this situation. And Chucky's like, the kid? The kid? I get to be 6 years old again. This is awesome.
He's hyped about it too.
Stab. Yeah. I got a date with a 6-year-old boy. That was a super creepy line right there. But ultimately, yes, stab. John goes down. And yeah, I think we immediately cut to Mom and Detective Skellington just making it to the apartment, and they're too late, but they do find John dying at least, and with his dying breaths, he's able to tell them that they got to save the boy, and they can destroy Chucky by destroying his heart.
Yeah.
Probably
he was a good guy in the end, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think he was ever evil in any way. He tells Chucky that he's not helping him because he perverted everything that he taught him.
Yeah. He might have just taught him under good notions, you know what I mean? So he was probably a good guy in the beginning.
Yep. Absolutely sounds like it. So he dead, and they have a mission. And at this point, you're like, I don't know if Andy's in a hospital or juvie. Because there's some pretty serious looking bars, but a window that he can open. Sure.
No, it kind of defeats the purpose of putting him in a place like that. But
especially if you're keeping 6-year-old children who can probably squeeze through those bars and fall to their death.
Who are also apparently double murderers at this point.
Yeah. Allegedly. If
the glove don't fit, you can't acquit. Or I guess in this point, the pajamas don't fit.
Oh, shit. Yes, we just OJ'd Child's Play. Enjoy, everyone. So Andy, for whatever reason, at the moment he's looking out the window, happens to see Chucky sneaking into the facility, and he starts flipping the fuck out. Andy cries out for the doctor, and while the doctor doesn't believe him, he at least seems concerned enough. Again, people trying to do good things, people. That's, I think, one of the most shocking things about that, because you don't see a lot of that in horror cinema. It's mostly people who are evil or just bad shits who basically get what they deserve.
Yeah, like in any other horror movie, this doctor would be like, yes, I love lobotomizing children or some weird shit. In this movie, he's like, yeah, dude, I legitimately want to help you. You something's wrong. I'm going to do my job as a doctor. And it's like, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, he runs off. In the meantime, Andy's just despondent. He's like, Chucky's gonna kill me. He's like repeating himself and kind of rocking back and forth on the chair there by the door. He's in a bad way. And we cut right back to Chucky sneaking in through a window. There is this very distracted orderly, and Chucky's able to grab his keys off his desk, and he opens up a lucky number 7 and just drops the keys on the floor and takes off towards the bed. And here's one of those scenes you were talking about earlier where it's clearly somebody in a little costume, because, he's walking and everything, but he falls for the oldest trick in the book, the pillow under the blankets, and seems so shocked that it's just a pillow. I also appreciate that we didn't get him trying to stab the pillow.
Oh
He
yeah.
just pulls back the covers and it's like, oh no, I've been duped.
I've been
Andy,
bamboozled.
yes, Andy crawls away, grabs the keys, and runs out the room. Basically, the doctor and Chucky, roughly at the same time, realizing that Andy's on the move. Um, I would have loved for Andy to slam the door shut, locking Chucky in at this point. But of course, the doll's small enough to get through this open window and through the bars and climb on the outside of the building because that's what he does. We get the doctor screaming after everybody to stop him, and yeah, Andy finds a little hiding place inside an operating room, probably where the lobotomies happen. And of course, Chucky once again gets the upper hand and dive bombs him from somewhere up above after turning on this massive spotlight, blinding Andy.
RKO's this kid.
Yup. Yup. Andy's knocked to the ground. He's got a tray of instruments that falls over him. There's like scalpels everywhere all over the floor. So many scalpels. And Andy does pick one of them up and, gets his back up against a wall. He's a smart kid.
I do love how he trips over everything though in that scene. He's just all right.
Yeah, he's stumbling everywhere. Yeah. He's lucky he didn't slice his own face off with that scalpel. And we think Chucky's gonna get him at this point, but no, it's the doctor. He's popped into the room probably because he heard all the rattling and everything, and he manages to grab Andy and force the scalpel out of his hand, takes him over to this bed where he's gonna give him a sedative. And wow, this kid is fighting for his life at this point, like you should. But we get a very Pet Cemetery scene, which I think came out the following year, but of a nice slice with a scalpel at somebody's heel or leg or something. And the doctor goes down. Chucky again with the upper hand here. And then we get like this electroshock therapy helmet thrown on the doctor's head, and Chucky cranks things up to 11. That is not a good way to go.
Oh yeah. Straight voltages to the brain. Nah, that's not it. But it was hilarious too, is just like you don't necessarily see Chucky do any of these things. Like sometimes it's a little
hand reaching up and turning the dial.
It's so good. Like when he puts on the thing, he just goes, it's like he's like putting the cherry on top of a cake. He's like, there you go. You got your yellow helmet. And he just runs away, your little pitter patter. Mm-hmm. So good. I love, like I said, I love the kills in this movie because they're not just stabby kills. They're just straight up like anything that's in the room is now the weapon.
Yep. He's the anti-MacGyver. Yeah. Oof. Yeah, it's a bad kill. And Andy, I think, bugged out while they were tussling here. And once again, Mom and the detective arrive moments too late. And shit's going down at this hospital. Everybody is out in the hallways. The cop's partner's there, Detective Dumbass. And they talk to a few people. There's this young girl that saw Chucky. So these kids are probably freaked the fuck out as well after seeing this killer doll. But Mom's like, hey, I always told Andy if there was ever any trouble or anything, he needed to run home. And they figured that's where he went. And they figured right, because here he is barricading the door. He grabs his bench, he pushes it up against the door, and he does the little kid thing of finding another slightly smaller object and placing it on top of the other one for all the good it's going to do.
Building a fort really quick.
Yeah, pretty much. So he goes to prepare for the worst. And we get a really funny scene from here of this old couple in the elevator. And Chucky's just in the corner in doll mode. And she's like, oh, some child left their doll in here. What should we do with it? And the husband's like, oh, just leave it, dear. If they left it here, they'll come back and find it. And as they leave on their floor, she's like, ugly doll. And we get this Chucky, fuck you.
It's so good. The delivery on that is amazing because they wait until he's out of frame and then you'll hear his fuck you.
yeah. As the elevator's moving again. Yep. And then back to Andy in the apartment. He's going to pull a Laurie Strode and go hide in the closet behind the louvered doors. And he starts looking through his toys, looking for anything to help him with the situation, right? And he finds the world's smallest, tiniest baseball bat. I thought for sure they were going to do something with that remote control car, but no, it's the tiny little bat. And he hears Chucky come down from the chimney, which was awesome because I don't know how else he was going to get into this place. Maybe slicing the plastic on the broken ass window and coming in. Right. I don't know. That would have been a little bit easier and less messy, but they kind of chase each other through the apartment. Andy takes a swing at him, totally misses, drops the bat. And then Andy thinks he's giving him the slip, but it's in one of my favorite horror tropes where somebody just pops up out of the woodwork and, it makes no sense how he even got there. But Chucky's like, batter up. And Andy's down. He clunks this kid in the head with the tiny little bat. It's great.
Yeah. I just love how much personality this character has. Like, the only other character I can think of who has this much personality is probably Freddy Krueger, just because of the way he taunts the people who he's like chasing. But like Chucky does it in a way that's like, this is just a guy. He's just a really terrible dude who's just talking a lot of shit, and I love it. It's great. Plus the guy who voices Chucky, amazing. His delivery on every single line is just fucking perfect.
Yes. Continue to put Brad Dourif in everything until he dies. But yeah, great voice. The adults finally get to the building, but Chucky begins his chant, and we get more storm clouds and lightning, so we know it's working. They break down the front door, throwing a barricade aside, and they manage to throw Chucky off pretty easily. I would have just loved it if one of them ran up and just, drop kicked Chucky off of them. Just seeing the ragdoll fly into the wall or something and just slump down.
I'm surprised nobody in this series has thought, hey, he's a doll. Let me just football kick this little shit like 30 yards that way.
Yep. But now they just kind of throw him aside, but then he just immediately gets up and he's got his little knife and he slashes Detective Mike in the leg. And let's see here. Totally lost my place. Oh, yes. And Mike goes down, but Chucky kind of runs away and Mike just gives Karen a gun from his ankle holster.
Just has, I just have my extra gun here. Give me a second. It's Chicago. Yeah, we have like 3 at a time.
You got to have your holdout piece. Come on. That's what ankle holsters are for. So he gives her a gun and he gets up to limp around and search the apartment, and he bursts into her bedroom. And again, it's like, there's this tiny little creepy doll, but you're going to get your face right up against the bed as you go to inspect underneath it, right? And that's when Chucky strikes, taking Mike out with 2 hits from the tiny little bat. And the first one is one to the gut, knocking the wind out of him. And the second one is the head, and he goes down like a sack of potatoes.
It's like Flintstone shit too. He's like, dunk, done. Yeah.
It's like the meme with the gif of the horny dog, with the bonk.
Bonk. Oh
Oh,
man.
fuck me. So yeah, Mike goes down, and before he can land a final blow, Karen bursts into the room and blasts Chucky off of him with a gun. Um she's got the stance and everything, and yeah, that's some fun times. Chucky goes flying across the room at that point. But she goes to fire again, and unfortunately, the gun jams. So she just drops that shit, and Chucky chases after her. They tussle, and this, oh God, I love this bit, where she manages to throw him into the fireplace and get the screen up against, sort of caging him inside. Um, so finally getting the upper hand on him, and she's got her back to it, because apparently, again, this 5-pound piece of plastic has all of the strength of a full-grown man and is trying to push back out. She's fumbling around up on the mantelpiece, looking for the matches. She knocks them all on the ground. Andy's just standing there staring like a dumbass, and she finally, convinces him to come over and help to grab the matches. And she fumbles around for the gas. She gets that going, and Andy just calmly walks up, strikes that match. And this whole time, Chucky's been going absolutely ham on the back of the screen and screaming and just losing his shit. And he suddenly stops and, just super calmly, he's like, "Oh no, Andy, no, please. We're friends till the end, remember?"
Definitely a Deadite moment right there from Evil Dead. Just
yes,
back
to
human.
Yes, back to human. And Andy just super calm. "This is the end, friend." Drops that match and lights that little bitch up. Oh,
Oh my God. I love it.
It's so cold.
The kid gets the moment.
He gets the one-liner. Yeah, he gets the Schwarzenegger line of the movie. It's wonderful. And at this point, also Karen had kind of wedged a log for a gas fireplace that you probably wouldn't need. But in any event, she wedges that up against the fireplace screen to sort of keep Chucky trapped in there as he burns. And, ooh, these flames are nasty. They kind of back away in horror, and that's where he manages to get the screen free. And he's just stumbling around in their living room on fire, lighting other things on fire. And I'm thinking to myself, oh God, this whole apartment building is going to go up in a minute. Really,
the resale
doesn't
value on
though.
this apartment is just down now.
Oh, I know. Broken window. You got all sorts of fire and smoke damage.
That furnace now smells like burning plastic.
Yeah, that's not great. This has turned into a major fixer-upper. The other thing is, there's no smoke alarms going off.
Oh, there isn't. There's not one smoke alarm in this movie for any of the fire in it.
Yeah, you got the burnt toast in the beginning, which is, going up like a house of fire. And all the burning plastic and everything else, but nothing. No.
Yep. Just a man in a costume just getting burned and running around a house.
We have a man who has possessed a doll doing a full body burn, but not a single smoke alarm going off. Cool. So yes, Chucky, writhing around, screaming, nearly lighting the couch on fire. And so finally he drops to the ground and the flames kind of go out, and you've got this super withered, deformed Chucky there that's just not moving. And Detective Mike calls, finally waking up here. "Oh, hey, what happened? Everybody okay?"
I seem to have been knocked out.
Yep. I'm not doing so hot over here. And so they go to give him a hand. Mom asks Andy to go grab the first aid kit from under the kitchen sink. And this is where he turns back and sees that Chucky's not there anymore. There's just the little burned mark on the floor where he was. And Yeah, Andy goes running back for mom, and you get the little legs sticking out from around the corner, tripping Andy. It's such like a cartoon type of trope of a trip. Andy goes down pretty hard, and he's burnt to a crisp, but he's still able to hold a knife and he's still able to speak. And I love how, his lips are burned away, so his teeth are just kind of there, and one of the eyes is gone, and the other one, there's no lid or anything. It's just there.
Straight eye. The movements too are very like, I don't remember the movie exactly. I want to say Creature from Black Lagoon. Just the way he moves is so very like, it's like he's hurt. You could tell, but it's creepy because you can see all like the liquid. It's like shit's still boiling off of his arm and stuff like that. One of the honestly, as like a kid, the creepiest things I've ever seen in my life. Just seeing that burnt doll just constantly moving, like, dude, you cannot kill this thing. This thing just will not die.
Nope. And there's still a lot of movie left. So yeah. But the doll is coming after him again. And let's see.
By the way, like Andy, they should really recall these dolls. They should really recall these dolls because you see how much that thing burned in like very little flame. Like that was a lot of fire. Like those things can't be safe for kids.
Not very flame retardant. No. So yeah, Andy goes running for mom, and they manage to slam the door shut on Andy or Chucky, and he's clawing at the door and everything. And what's the line here? Give me the boy and I'll let you live. I don't know. He's a creepy kid. Maybe she should, consider the offer.
I mean, remember the breakfast in bed, mom? Like, you should probably just give him away. Yeah. It's fine.
She's thought about it once or twice. Yeah, she's thought about it once or twice. Maybe give him some cooking lessons. I don't know. And then she realizes, crap, the shotgun bathroom. And, he goes around to the other side, and it's a door that opens into the bathroom. So she's not able to defend against Chucky very well. He's stabbing through this cheap hollow core door with the knife, and he gets her in the hand and nearly gets her in the head before he runs away again.
Nice little shining moment there, if I remember correctly. It's straight through the door. It's like, oh!
Yep. And they're at this point where somehow they end up chasing each other around the apartment again, and she manages to pick up the gun, which I guess has unjammed itself at this point, or she clears the jam. I don't know. But she starts blowing pieces off of Chucky, starting with his head that just goes flying back and rolling down the hallway.
Slow motion too, so you can see every single like little piece coming off and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And the body continuing to walk towards her with the knife. She starts blowing off a couple of limbs, and as the body goes down, she stands over it and unloads the rest into the body. And this is where Mike's dumbass partner shows up. It's like, what the fuck is going on here?
A fucking doll on the ground? A burnt doll? What is this?
And he goes and he finds Mike, and Mike is clearly injured. So he calls up a bus to come pick up his wounded partner here, and he goes out to investigate the scattered doll parts. And meanwhile, Mike's like, yeah, go ahead and look at it, but don't touch anything. And of course, what does he do? He picks up the head. He picks up the head and he carries it with him back into the bedroom. At first, very gingerly, very afraid. And then he's like, it's on like a plastic, whatever. So he carries that into the bedroom and he puts it on top of the TV facing them. So it's looking at them. And he's just, kind of making fun of the situation in front of these three very clearly traumatized people.
And with also injured ones.
Yes. It's very strange how this plays out. But once again, Chucky has the upper hand because the remaining, larger bit of his body comes bursting through a vent over Detective Dumbass's shoulder and attacks him while the head is kind of directing everything that's happening. So he spins around the room with this thing on him, and finally somebody shoots the doll in the fucking heart and goes down, and the head on its side this time, staring at them, lets out a final, "Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?" As it fades off.
So good.
Yup. And it's at this point where help finally arrives. They get, Detective Mike loaded up and everything. And Andy gives this one little last look over his shoulder as Mom leads him away, staring at the doll's head as they go to close the door. And then freeze frame. And credits.
I love that it ends on a freeze frame. We were just watching The Lost Boys last night, and nice. I'm like, I fucking swear to God, if this movie ends on a freeze frame, I'm gonna lose it. It didn't end on a freeze frame, but I love that Child's Play does. It's the quirkiest thing ever, but it's great. Yeah. It's basically like Thriller. He's just gonna start, his eyes are gonna start glowing.
All you need is that Vincent Price cackle there. It's. I'm curious what their thought was with how that plays. Are we supposed to, just be concerned like Andy, is it really over? Is it really done? Is Chucky really dead? Or are we supposed to possibly think that maybe something evil has transferred itself into Andy after all? I don't know. I feel like that little look that he gives at the end, you could really go either way. Yeah,
it's a little creepy.
He's a creepy kid. He's
a creepy kid. I love that though. I do know that there was a lot of stuff cut out of the movie. There's a lot of Chucky scenes, like almost like 90 minutes or 60 to 90 minutes of like Chucky scenes. Because this movie was originally like 2 hours long. The original cut of the movie, and then like I think they hired, like the producer came in and just like, yeah, no, we're cutting half of this shit out, and then. It does show in some scenes, and I think that's one of them, because like I think there was more to like that ending than just a freeze frame kid just staring at a thing. Yeah, who knows? Maybe they didn't think this was going to be a franchise. Like, and he's like, "There's no way Chucky will live on past 2023," and look at it now.
What is it, like 6 or 7 films, and at this point a couple of seasons into a TV series that's pretty well liked.
Me and Mario were joking about this yesterday. Like, out of all the horror movie icons, the only ones who's kind of stood the time is, oddly enough, Chucky, who is not yet had like a remake. They haven't had anything. Like, the story is still continuous from this point on to where it is now. This still happened. Like, Child's Play still happened. That was still part of the whole story.
I mean, they tried that crappy Mark Hamill remake and nobody liked it. And they decided to just move on with a canon TV series instead. That's awesome.
Yeah, but even that remake, still is canon. I'm like, okay, everything's canon. Yeah, they pull the veil off towards like the post credit scene of like, oh, Tiffany's in this universe. Then it's it's all continuous. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. But Chucky lives. Chucky lives on. Yeah, in all of our hearts somehow. The Strangler, Charles E. Ray.
The Strangler.
By the way, I forgot to mention this earlier. How the hell are you called the Strangler? But like, voodoo magic. You use a gun, obviously, and like you didn't like, the only person who's almost strangled is the cop in his back seat, and that's really kind of about it. When you're notorious for strangling people, you think you would strangle people some more.
Yeah, it's I mean, at least we got one strangulation scene with jumper cables. You gotta use what you got, and maybe if he didn't do most of his killing in scenarios where rope was easily found nearby, maybe he would have been the knifer, or
I think you hit it earlier, the MacGyver.
Yeah, the anti-MacGyver. Yes,
anti-MacGyver. Yeah. I mean, I just kill with whatever I have around me, inventively.
Yes.
Oh
Oh,
man.
fuck me. This movie. It's so much fun. It, like we talked about much earlier, there's so much great suspense in that first half.
Yeah.
It's done really well.
Yeah.
For a sort of schlocky late '80s slasher horror comedy type thing, but yeah, shockingly well. Shout out to Tom Holland and Don Mancini. Some horror greats right there. Um, yeah, this movie
Yeah, when I
fucking
saw Tom
rips.
Holland's name in this, I was a little confused myself. I was like, who?
Yeah,
Then I had to look it
that's
up. I
why I
was like,
was
oh yeah,
joking.
different
The
Tom
other
Holland.
one. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, no, they did an insanely good job. The atmosphere in this, I love it. There's nothing more scary as like even adult or even as a kid of seeing something that crazy and traumatic and nobody believing you. Like
Oh yeah.
it's the ultimate story of the boy who called the boy who cried wolf, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh man, nobody
Well,
believes me. I'm alone.
and
Like this is
and
scary.
it's a fairly common fear too of being institutionalized against your will, and the just being told you're crazy when you're not.
Yeah,
It's not that crazy people know that they're crazy, but
yeah.
yeah, it's a pretty common fear, and it's always super effective in thrillers and horror in general. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I would
this
even
all
argue too,
works.
like earlier in the movie, if they never did that intro with Charles and Detective Skeleton, um I think like you could have legitimately like, throughout the whole movie just wonder like, is Chucky even alive? Like
Yeah,
is this even like a real like thing? Like that first part of the movie kind of tells the hand for the rest of the movie, but like there's parts of that movie where I'm like, is the kid doing it? Is it the doll? And then they finally reveal it. But I
yeah,
do like that little kind of like guessing game in the beginning of like, oh, it technically could be the kid. We just don't really know for sure.
yeah.
Um,
It would
but
be interesting to watch a cut where it's all just edited out, and yeah. Of course, you'd have to show it to somebody who's never seen the film before, but
mhm.
yeah, no, I love how this movie plays. There's some weird choices here and there. Just the way in which Detective Mike finally comes around. It feels like there's definitely something missing in all of that, and like you said, there's a lot that was left on the cutting room floor with this. Um, but yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's a little weird the way he does it. It's just like you would think at this point you would think about it more, or like the movie would maybe elaborate more on the obsession with Charles Lee Ray. Like
mhm.
it from what I can tell, like earlier in the film, I think there's a mention of like that they've been chasing each other for a while. And I'm like, okay, I would like to know a little bit more about that. Just give me a
Mhm.
Charles Lee Ray prequel movie. You know what I mean? I want to know how he becomes the Strangler.
Yes, yes. Um, how he learns all of his super cool voodoo stuff. Um,
Um, that's one of
yeah.
those things too. It's just like even growing up, I was just like I always get that chant wrong. I think it's like Abe du Dembala, and like I would say like a completely opposite thing. That was one of the things that we always used to just say. We used to just touch each other's heads in the playground and be like Abe du Dembala. It's like I guarantee the teachers are always looking around like, what the fuck is wrong with these kids?
Yeah. Well, indeed. What the fuck is wrong with all these kids? But kids just say weird shit too.
Yeah, that's a whole just a child's play, right? What the fuck is wrong with these kids? They're just weird.
Yup. Yup.
Oh,
Oh God. Yeah, it's fun because if you look at this movie very, very surface level, okay, it's just killer doll. That's it. A
hmm.
little bit of 80s action on top. But yeah, all this little stuff, the nobody believes me, the could it be the kid thing. It's just all that just adds so much to it. It's fun to talk about horror.
Yeah, and how vulgar Chucky is in this movie too.
Oh
Like
yeah.
he right out the gate, just like straight c words, fuck you, bitch, and like all that. It's just like you don't. I don't. I can't think of any other horror like mainstream horror movies right at the time where you had a killer just be like that crazy, like aggressive. Like
Mm-hmm.
I said, Freddy, I can think is the other one, but like even Freddy was a little calm about his things. Charles just goes straight out the gate. It's like, I'm gonna beat your ass. Like just starts smacking this lady in the face.
Yeah, it is a little weird because he's supposed to be a serial killer, and you think of serial killers as people that try to blend in and appear normal and everything, um, just to kind of hide this other side of themselves. That's
Nope.
not this dude. Not at all.
He's just unhinged from the gate.
Yeah. God, I would love to know a little bit more of the Charles Lee Ray lore as far as him and his partner Caputo or whatever. What that was all about. Did they kill together? Was he just a buddy?
Yeah, I don't know. He had a van. That's all I know. He has a van.
Yeah.
They
Well, that could
probably
be.
kidnap
Yeah.
people or something. Who knows?
Yeah. If it were a white panel van, that would make more sense.
Says free candy on it.
Yeah. I don't know. That's weird though.
Yeah, I don't think it's elaborated later on either.
Nah.
A lot of the stuff that happens in this movie is just there and never elaborated ever in Child's Play ever again. I hope at some point they do, because like I said, I would love to see Charles Lee Ray before he becomes Chucky. I want to kind of see how he meets Tiffany. I want to see all of that stuff. But
yeah,
that's something that's a pipe dream. I don't think they're ever going to touch that stuff.
No, I think you're probably right. Yeah, there's just again so much that was probably left on the cutting room floor to get this down to like a fairly tight 90-minute movie.
Yeah.
And so much the better. It's definitely one of those films that very much respects your time. Again, yeah, you get your spoops.
It's that perfect movie for early late 80s, early 90s television, where you turn it on and it's just playing on like TBS or something like that.
Yeah, it's a severely edited version on USA Up All Night.
Exactly. Yeah.
but yeah, no, Child's Play rips. It is a shit ton of fun, and I'm glad that we could do this.
Yeah.
This was a blast, man.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved every second of it.
Yeah. Any final thoughts on Child's Play? I think we got a lot of it out there. But
don't watch the sequel.
Oh.
They do the Doom thing where it's like, hey, we have Doom, and then we have Doom 2016. Child's Play has a sequel called Child's Play, which is weird because it's like the 7th movie in the franchise and it's still canon. So like it's technically like it's just weird. Why would you call it the same thing? When you go watch Child's Play, don't do that. I actually made that mistake when I was looking for this film to watch again. I opened up a browser. It's like, oh, they have Child's Play. Opened it up and it was the new one. I'm like, God damn it.
Well, that's too bad. Frank, if you'd like, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at TheFrankGV, and you can find me and my other co-hosts at Point in Progress, where we talk about video games every week. Mostly talking shit about video games, but you know how it is.
Yeah. We live in a golden age of shit talking, so yeah, that works. Well, cool. Thanks again for coming on. I will be in touch about some other stuff.
Hell yeah. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for coming on. This has been Murders with Mertens, a horror film podcast. Thank you for letting us tickle your ear holes. If you'd like, please like, share, and subscribe. I'll be back soon enough with another episode, but until next time, stay spoopy, everyone.